All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3. I feel like it's just flying by. I will be honest, I woke up this morning and felt quite tired and was like, whew, the yoga is getting to me, which is, it's good. When you're starting to feel a certain amount of, exhaustion, it means that you're challenging your body, you're challenging your mind, you're creating change. Tiredness can be a good thing. And with any type of immersion or intensive or teacher training, there's always a moment where it's always like you're enjoying it, and then you hit a bit of like fatigue and tiredness, and then you question it and you're not sure if you should keep going, and you're like, ah. And then eventually you hit a point where you just are kind of like soaring and you're like floating. And yoga requires a bit of effort to bring us to a place where we can eventually feel effortless. So if you're feeling a little bit tired, please know it's totally normal. It always requires a little bit of effort sometimes to get us to a stage that feels almost effortless and more peaceful and more floaty. So welcome to day 3. If you're just joining, I just literally like 5 minutes ago, maybe not even, my mom, who's on this Zoom call with all of us, doing the immersion with us, go mom, and her boyfriend Peter, they just got a phone call from my sister who just found out she is pregnant, and it was announced on the Zoom call. So congratulations, Rachel. I'm so excited for you. I'm going to be an uncle. I'm thrilled. My breath has been taken away. What did we talk about yesterday? One thing that is constant in the world is change. And this is so exciting. Anyways, we'll dive into the yoga. I want to do a quick review of what we did yesterday. So the last 2 days. So a quick recap, because often as human beings, we need to learn through repetition. Yoga and spiritual practices are the exact same. We need to kind of keep revisiting these topics so that they stay imprinted in our mind and they remain fresh. So day 1, we talked about living in the present moment, living right here in the now, because that's where life happens. We talked about the verb presencing, the act of bringing yourself back and back to this moment over and over and over and over again. A beautiful quote I just read last night when I was reading: the education of attention would be an education par excellence. So the education of just paying attention, that's what the present moment is. When you're paying attention, you're being in this moment. We talked also about yesterday, yoga chitta vritti nirodha, that yoga is having the ability to calm the fluctuations of the mind. Yoga is having the capacity to calm our minds, to pay attention to the thoughts that we're thinking, and have a little bit more mastery and control over them instead of letting our mind be pulled in so many directions by all of our thoughts. So yoga is having the capacity to have awareness of our thoughts and control over our thoughts. Then we talked about the next Yoga Sutra, which is Tada Dvaus Svarupe Ashtanam, which translates as, then you will see yourself for who you truly are. So yoga is now. Yoga is the capacity to calm the mind, and then you'll begin to catch glimpses of who you truly are, which we talked about in yoga known as Purusha, which is spirit or soul, or also Anandamaya Kosha, which translates as your bliss body. We also talked about in Buddhism, it's known as sunyata, this state of emptiness or nothing. So that at the core of who you truly are in Buddhism is nothing or emptiness. And in yoga, it's Purusha or Anandamaya Kosha, bliss, so soul or bliss. We also have been working on our root chakra, the energy center that governs our relationship with the earth and our feelings of stability and foundation. So we've been working a lot with our feet and our thighs and coming up towards the pelvic floor. Yesterday we did the adductor class, and the adductors come right up towards our pelvic floor, sit bones and pubis. And today we're moving on. Today we're going to a new chakra. Are you ready? We're moving on up to Swadisthana, which is your second chakra, called your Sacral Chakra. But I digress. We'll continue with our review. We also talked about embracing uncertainty and curiosity, the art of inquiry, that both in Buddhism and in yoga, there is a emphasis on having the ability to question yourself and to contemplate oneself and to question teachers and question scriptures, and that we learn through questioning. And and in order to have that mind to question, it can be really helpful to adapt a beginner's mind, also known as a Japanese word as shoshin, S-H-O-S-H-I-N, shoshin. Okay. I'm sorry, I just got a text message from my sister. She's like, you and mom are the only ones that know that I'm pregnant, so please don't tell anyone. And I'm like, does she know that mom just told everyone on like 180 people on the Zoom call that she's pregnant? And then she sent another text message back being like, I know mom just announced it on the Zoom call, that's okay, but don't tell anyone else. I'm like, okay. Let's focus. So adopting a beginner's mind, shoshin, it's a Japanese word that means having an open mind and being inquisitive and investigative. And in yoga, this type of approach is known as svadhyaya, studies of oneself. And in Buddhism, it's known as dharma vikalpa, to investigate. So questioning and the art of inquiry is so important in this practice. It's good to question things. It's good to have an open mind. It's good to have a shoshin. We also talked about how the question is more important than the answer. You know, sometimes there can be more value in question than figuring out the answer. And we also talked about if you truly want to progress spiritually, you need to take time in your practice to contemplate things deeply. You know, I think in our culture, because we're so stimulated, we don't actually spend that much time contemplating things deeply. We think about it for just a moment, or just like a very small amount of time. And so it can be so important in our practice to schedule time to go deep, to contemplate things deeply. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? And just spend 20 minutes contemplating one of those questions. Who am I? And just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And you know, sometimes we won't know. Like, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know who I am. That's why I'm loving yoga right now and have for a long time. I'm in this constant state of inquiry. I don't really know who I am. I don't really know why I'm here. And I'll be honest, I don't really know where I'm going yet, because it's kind of always changing. The more I learn, the more I grow. It's always in this constant state of flux. It's the question that's important more than any form of answer. And I think as human beings, sometimes we want to always know the answer. And so we have to kind of not be so attached to the answer and be more interested in the question. When you don't know, I remember when I was in university for biomedical science, and I called my mom and I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't want to do biomed. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was excelling at it. I was doing really good. I had a full scholarship for school, but my heart wasn't in it, and I just didn't know where to go next. And she said to me on the phone, she's like, you don't always need to know. Like, you don't always need to know where you're going. That's a very human experience, is to not always know what's next. And can you be okay with that? Yay, Mom. Today, so we'll move on today. Today we will be talking about release, having the capacity to release. And in order to release, we need to have the ability to surrender, and we need to have the ability to trust. Today we'll be working on the Sacral Chakra, your second chakra, known as Swadisthana. And this is located in your lower abdomen, just let's say a few inches below your navel. So it's a few inches, I'll come into squat, a few inches below the navel. So it kind of is the region of the pelvis. And the element for this chakra, this energy center that exists across the pelvic region, the lower abdomen, is water. So this element of fluidity. And this is our place of creativity and the ability to creation. You know, my sister's in the process of creating a baby, and this is Swadhisthana, her second chakra. Cool, eh? So, like, still boggling my mind. A mantra for this chakra is, I am the creator of my reality. And this is what we'll be kind of diving into today, is our capacity to create our own reality. And it comes from this second chakra, the Swadhisthana chakra, this sacral chakra. The ability to create, this place of creation. All right, let's dive into trust. So in yoga, trust is also known as Shraddha, S-H-R-A-D-D-H-A, and Shraddha translates as faith, conviction, or trust. And faith is not something that you achieve suddenly and then you're done. Like, faith is a muscle that you kind of have to keep working and you have to keep feeding. So the more you practice trusting someone or trusting something, the better you'll become at trust. The more you practice trusting yourself and your own abilities, the better you'll become not only at trusting, but at being trustworthy of yourself. In the Yoga Sutras, the classical yoga philosophy, they say that you will achieve freedom, you'll achieve enlightenment when your practice is accompanied with faith or trust. You need Shraddha in order to find or experience some element of freedom, enlightenment, peace. You need to have the ability to trust and have faith. Okay, so that's a Shraddha, trust. And then the other aspect of a release is Ishvara Pranidhana. And Ishvara Pranidhana, I just want to keep it really simple, translates as devotional surrender. This ability to totally let go and surrender, bow before someone or bow before yourself and just completely surrender yourself to that thing or that experience or that practice. Just like, boom, I can surrender. I have total faith. So these two they're kind of like two birds of a wing. They go hand in hand, having trust and the ability to surrender. And often when you can surrender, there's some level of trust. And when you have trust, it increases your ability to surrender. So they kind of go hand in hand. And the more you trust someone or something or an experience, the less you fight against it and the more capable you are of relaxing, softening, releasing. So kind of what I'm digging at here is that it's really important for us to have trust and faith in something, in a practice, in a person, in ourselves, so that we give ourselves a moment to soften. This is why in our yoga practice, we've done so much root chakra. We've done 2 days. Our first 2 days have been all root chakra so that we can have this nice, stable, steady foundation. And often when we feel stable or feel like we're in an environment that's stable and it has a firm foundation, we feel like we can relax a little bit more. We feel like we can soften. When we feel like we're in a safe environment, often we're like, oh, I feel safe. And so this is why root chakra work, the last 2 days, working the legs, working the feet, is so crucial to allowing for a release higher up the body. This is really, really interesting. Your nervous system is what dictates your movement. Your nervous system is what dictates your movement. So your brain is responsible for all the muscular contractions in your body. If you feel threatened, your nervous system will pick up on that. And the way in which you move your body and what you'll be able to do with your body when you feel threatened will be radically different than if you feel totally safe and secure. So if you're in an environment where you feel threatened and you don't feel safe, your muscles and how you move your body will be completely different, as well as your experience of that movement, than if you were in a room and you felt totally safe and really secure and loved and supported and could trust. Our movement is governed by our nervous system. So one of the best things we can do as yoga practitioners, where we dedicate ourselves to movement, is to ensure we're practicing in an environment where we feel safe. The more safe you feel, the more calm your nervous system is. The more calm your nervous system is, the more you're able to move with like literal freedom. The more calm you are, the deeper you can go into stretches. The more calm you are, it's often an indicator that your body feels stable and strong. And when you feel stable and strong, automatically the body is like, okay, well, I'll let you relax more because I know that you're stable enough for this. What are we releasing? So we've kind of talked about what we need in order to release. We need to have shraddha, faith, and we need to trust. And we also need to have Ishvara Pranidhana, the ability to surrender and let go. But what are we releasing? Like ultimately, what are we releasing? And in the practices of Buddhism and in yoga, what are we releasing? At the end of the day, it's our stories. All the stories that we tell ourselves. All the stories that we define ourselves through. Yoga and Buddhism is the process of taking off one story at a time until you're totally naked. And this can be really liberating because we all have stories, that we're like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm done with being a biomed student. I'm ready to take this identity off. I'm ready to stop telling this story. And we take it off and we're like, oh, yes, that freedom. It feels so freeing because we're not bound by that identity and that story anymore. But sometimes it can be scary too. Like, when I stopped dancing, it was like, now who am I? I, for so long, took so much joy in, saying to people, I'm a dancer. And then when I had to let go of that identity, or when I chose to let go of that identity in that story, I was like, who am I now? And it created a bit of anxiety. It's like, I don't know who I am anymore. And of course, that's the ego talking. But ultimately, this is the practice of yoga, taking our stories off one piece at a time, like clothing. So a good way to kind of dissect our stories is by kind of relating them to the koshas. So the koshas are energetic layers of who we are. And one of the koshas is Anomaya kosha, which is your physical body layer. So a lot of us have a lot of stories. We identify ourselves through how we look. Ooh, my skin is so soft and supple and vibrant. Ooh, I have nice big muscles. Look at my six-pack, or look at my big boobies. We identify ourselves through our physical body. And so we can create a lot of stories around our body. We can say, oh, like my left butt's so much smaller than my right butt. Like I have to always hide my left buttock. Or, we have all these stories around our body. And so one way to kind of begin to peel back our stories is by acknowledging the stories we've created around our physical body. and acknowledging that you are more than your physical body. Going into Vijnana Maya Kosha, which is, I sometimes like to describe as your intellect, your discerning mind. And a lot of people identify themselves through their intelligence. You know, I have some friends from high school that are super smart. And, you know, if anyone trumped their level of intelligence, it'd be really confronting for them because they're so identified by their intellect. And so when anyone threatened their ability to be intelligent, they would totally shut down and get lost in their mind and overthink things. So it's important to acknowledge the stories that you create around your intellect and, you know, question those stories, invite inquiry, like, is this story true? Can I let go of this story? We have stories that we create around, you know, our emotional body, Manomaya Kosha, that's where our thoughts and emotions are. That layer of our emotional body. And this can be tough because how many of you have experienced really intense emotions? Hands up. You know, like someone came home and told you they weren't in love with you anymore, or, you know, you had someone dear pass away, or, you know, as human beings, gosh, we are emotional and it's so beautiful. Life would be so boring without emotions. But yoga goes on to say emotions are only one layer of who you are. There's so much more to you. And yes, you will experience some really intense emotions, but you have to remember that there's more to you than that emotional experience. An emotion is an experience. I am Duncan having an emotion. I am Duncan, I am feeling sad. It's not, I am sad. I am Duncan, I am feeling sad. Like, an emotion is an experience. And they can come and go, they're constantly changing. I'll leave it kind of there for the stories and kind of how we can dissect them layer by layer. But the question might be like, how do I release a story? How do I let go of these stories? And there's so many different ways of doing it. I'm going to give you just a quick example. Gosh, the philosophy time just flies. I'm going to give you a quick example of kind of like a story that I had when I moved to Australia and kind of how I worked through it. So when I first moved here to Australia from Canada, I left everything behind in Canada. An amazing career, lots of friends. I loved where I lived. I didn't leave Canada because I didn't love it. I left Canada because I loved an Australian. So I moved here for love. And then when I got here, I kind of went into survival mode. I adapted this story of, I don't really feel like I belong here. So I had this narrative, the story of I don't belong and I am an outsider. I don't belong and I'm an outsider. Like, I just felt like such an outsider. Anytime I spoke, like my accent was a bit off. Like, I just felt disconnected. And my narrative, my story going on was, I don't belong. I'm an outsider. I'm an immigrant. And basically all species have 3 survival strategies. The first one is to notice how you are separate to your environment. And this can help us survive, because if we walk into an environment and there's like a big gorilla or, you know, a big dinosaur, the first thing we'll pick up on is like, oh, they're so much bigger than me. So that's a difference, and that can be a potential threat. They're also very muscular. Oh, it also seems like they have a rage. So you just notice all the separations between you and your environment in order to create a survival strategy. You notice how everything's separate to you. And then a second strategy, you know, so when I moved here, I was like, oh, Aussies are so different than Canadians. You know, they say things weirdly, you know. They say, you know, jumper instead of sweater. Like, this is just weird. Like, I was picking up on all the differences all the time. I would only focus on how everything was different to what I previously knew. Secondly, a second survival strategy is often we try to create as much stability as possible. Like we try to stabilize our environment. It's a survival mechanism, creating stability in our environment. And what I did is I got here and I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to create stability in my environment by watching lots of Netflix. I literally moved here. I think for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I went out a little bit, but I spent the majority of the time just in Joe's apartment watching Netflix because that felt like a stable environment for me. I'd go out for little like ventures, but the most stable environment to me was just spending time at home, predominantly alone. And then third survival mechanism is approaching opportunity, but avoiding threat. And so often when we feel like we're in survival mode, we'll only approach opportunity and avoid threat, which makes sense, right? So for me, when I first moved here, I was like, I'm going to approach anything that feels like an opportunity with very little threat. So when I first moved here, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Bali and do yoga for a month in Bali. 3 months later, I'm going to go to Thailand and do yoga for a month in Thailand. And for me, that was an opportunity because, there was no threat involved. It was like, a vacation. And also it mitigated my risk for having to create relationships here in Australia, because ultimately I was fear of failure, of rejection, fear of failure with regards to becoming successful at my career in Australia, becoming successful in new relationships, building a new friendship group. So I just kind of avoided all of it and just chased things that I knew would make me feel good, like going to other countries and not establishing roots here. I went back to Canada to my old students and taught a yoga teacher training. So how we overcome these survival strategies, for the first one, noticing separateness, is you have to acknowledge that everything's connected. When you're trying to always create stability in the environment, you have to acknowledge that things are always going to change. You have to, instead of being afraid of change, embrace change, which is what we talked about yesterday. And then finally, always chasing opportunity and avoiding threat, will never lead to you feeling totally connected to an environment, because it'll be very one-sided. So how did I release the story? One, had to build trust, shraddha, faith in new relationships. So I eventually had to start opening up to people. Secondly, I had a mantra that was the opposite of my narrative. So every night I would go to bed, I place one hand on my belly, one hand on my chest. And I would say, I am safe, I am loved. And that helped me a whole lot go to sleep at night. And then thirdly, sometimes it just takes time. I think in our culture, we want things to happen right away. We want that instant gratification. We expect things to happen so quickly because technology is so fast. But relationships sometimes take time. Building new relationships, building a new relationship with yourself, with other people, trusting yourself, trusting other people, it takes time. So I'll just return back to this idea that, stories, our personal stories and how we define ourselves can be really fun. It's how we create. How we create our reality is deciding which story we want to tell. So coming back to the root, the Swadisthana chakra. Our power of creation. We create our reality by how we choose to perceive the world and what's going on. You can even ask yourself, am I perceiving the world through a survival strategy, a survival mechanism? Am I always picking out how everything's different rather than acknowledging how it's all interconnected? Am I, trying to keep everything stable and certain when we know that life is always changing and always uncertain? Am I always chasing opportunity but avoiding threats? And that will pull you in a very one-sided direction. So the practice of yoga to conclude this whole message, it's been a long one, thanks for listening. To conclude this whole message, the intention of yoga is to have the capacity to release our stories one by one. And ultimately death being the biggest release of all, because you can't hold on to any of those stories anymore. Your story of being a mother, your story of being an uncle, your story of being an artist, a dancer, a CEO, an activist, a lover. So I'm going to leave you with this two amazing quotes. First one's by Michael Stone. Are you ready for it? Brace yourself. Sit up nice and tall. Let yourself receive this. Our deepest longing and also our greatest fear is to simply be without creating a need to be. Boom. I'll say it one more time. Our deepest longing and also our greatest fear is to simply be without creating a need to be. Whoa. You know, complete letting go of the story. And then final quote or question, you can journal on this. Who are you when you let go of all your stories? Who are you when you let go of all your stories? The song for today's theme is Let It Go from Frozen, the movie. Great song, right? Let it go, let it go. All right, today we're going to be working on the Sacral Chakra. So our anatomical theme, been sitting for a while. Our anatomical theme is hip flexion, so moving from the hips. As a human being, this is probably one movement that we will do a million billion times in our life, and that's why it's really important to do it well. So bending at the hips rather than bending at the spine, so that we allow for more movement from our hips, from our sacral chakra region. So instead of rounding our back when we come forward, being able to move from the hip crease and fold. So we'll be playing with that. We'll be playing with a little bit of posterior glide of the head of the femur. So whenever your leg comes up into flexion, we want the head of the femur to glide back in the hip socket. And basically you need strong glute strength for that to happen. And then we'll also, in the anatomical focus of today, ensure that we're not collapsing into our hip crease. So a tendency sometimes is for us to form a habit of collapsing into the hip. And then sometimes things get a little bit compressed in there. So we want to create spaciousness in our hips. So we'll play with creating a bit of space between the front of the hip, the ASIS, your front hip bone, and the thigh, the femur. All right. Wow. Thank you for listening. We'll get started on our mats. That was a bit of a long philosophy spiel. Please come to your mat, come to a comfortable seat. Close your eyes. Once your eyes are closed, can you take a deep breath in? A full breath out. Three more breaths, just like that. Can you bring yourself right here to this moment, presencing? As you breathe in, can you take in this moment? As you breathe out, could you release what has already happened? Inhale, present experience. Exhale, releasing that which has happened. Please blink your eyes open. Please come onto your hands and knees. If you have 2 blocks, put them at the top of your mat, and then place your hands on your blocks. And then step your left foot forward between your blocks. And you're going to come to a lunge, a kneeling lunge. So if you need to, fold the edge of your mat in on the right to give your knee more padding. And inhale, reach both hands up. Let's interlace both of your hands. Place them palms down on your front thigh. Push the hands down into the left thigh bone. And as you push the hands down into the left thigh, try to lift the left hip bone up away from the left thigh by lengthening your tailbone down, drawing your pubic bone forward and up. And as you lengthen your tailbone down, can you feel how your frontal hip points can lift up away from your left thigh? Keep pushing the left hand down. So right now we're trying to create more space at your left hip crease by lifting the left ASIS, the front hip bone, up, by engaging your core and your glutes and pressing the hands down into the left thigh. And just take one more deep inhale. Full exhale. All right, and then hands come to your blocks. You can put your blocks on a higher height if you have them. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee off the ground. Bend into your left knee. And as you bend deeply into your left knee, let your belly come towards your left thigh. Press your back thigh up super vigorously. And then elongate the center of your chest forward so you're nice and long through the spine. And take a steady breath in. Steady breath out. 2 more breaths. Keep pressing the back thigh up. Keep reaching the center of your chest forward. Pulling the shoulders away from your ears. Lift the inner arch of your front foot. Think of the ladybugs. Hug the outer left shin in to engage the left adductors. This is all root chakra. And lift the outer arch of the left foot. Good. Now, take your hands to your left thigh. Okay. Same thing. Interlace your hands, palms down on your left thigh, right up on the top of the thigh near the hip crease, and push the hands down. And as you push the hands down, try to lift your pelvis up. You can bend your back knee a little bit and try to lift your frontal hip points up so that your pelvis is not tipping forward. You're trying to keep your pelvis upright as you bend into the front knee, keeping the back knee slightly bent, tailbone down, lifting the frontal hip points up. And take one more deep inhale. Full exhale. And both hands to your blocks. Switch sides. Step your right foot forward. Drop your left knee down towards the ground. Inhale, both hands up. Try to get super tall and vertical. Exhale, interlace the hands, palms down on your right thigh. Push the top of your right thigh down with both of your hands. And then try to lift the pelvis up off of the thigh by lengthening your tailbone down, squeezing your butt muscles. Trying to lift your frontal hip points up. Keep pushing your right thigh bone down. So we're trying to create more space between the front hip bone, your ASIS, and your right thigh. Squeeze your left butt nice and firm. And then release both hands on your blocks. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, come into a lunge. Bend into your front knee deeply. Press that left thigh up vigorously. Lift the inner arch of your right foot, like there's ladybugs in there. Hug the outer right shin into the midline, so you're adducting to the midline. And then take both of your hands to your right thigh, come upright, interlace the hands, palms down on your right thigh near the hip crease. Bend your back knee a little. Push your hands down onto the right thigh. And try to lift your frontal hip points up, lengthen the tailbone down. Take a deep inhale into your body. And a full exhale. One more deep breath in. Full breath out. Keep lifting those frontal hip points up. Squeeze both butts. Good. And then both hands down towards the ground. And step forward to a forward fold. Release your head. Take a deep breath in. Full breath out. Let your head relax. 2 more breaths. Okay, let your jaw relax. Let your face relax. Breathe deeply. One more deep inhale. Full exhale. Good. Take your hands to your hips and inhale, stand all the way up. Nice and slow. Take your feet hip distance wide. Take your thumbs into the front of your hip creases, right at the top of the femur, right at the top of your thigh bone. And then begin to bend your knees just a little bit. And then push your thumbs back so you're pressing the top of your thigh bone back in space. So much so your butt might stick out a little bit. So bend the knees. With the thumbs and your hip creases, push the tops of the thighs back. And as you push the tops of the thighs back, lift the frontal hip points up. Draw the lower abdomen in. And then begin to fold over your legs. Keep pushing the tops of the thighs back as you fold over the legs. Let your head release. Try to shift a little more weight into the balls of the feet. So the soleus, your calf muscle engages, day 1, root chakra. Keep pushing your thumbs back against the tops of the femurs, the tops of your thighs. And then can you lengthen your spine a little bit more and fold a little deeper. Take one more full inhale. Full exhale. And both hands to the ground. Please step your right foot back, then your left foot back, plank pose. Take a full breath in plank. Exhale all the way to your belly. Inhale, cobra pose, lift the chest, draw the shoulders back, lift the legs. As you lift the legs, keep the legs together, keep the knees straightening. Squeeze the elbows in. Take one more full inhale. Complete exhale. Push up to your hands and knees. Press back, downward facing dog pose. Take a deep breath in. Steady breath out. Slow, steady breath in. Slow, steady breath out. Now, can you imagine as if your thumbs are still in your hip creases and they're pushing the very top of your leg near the hip, back and up. Keep a tiny, tiny bend in the knees. Push the balls of your feet, all 10 toes into the ground. Take one more full inhale. Complete exhale. Step your right foot forward between your hands. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, reach all the way up towards the sky, reach nice and tall. Exhale, hands to your heart. And inhale, please reach both hands up. Exhale, as you fold, take your thumbs to your hip creases and push the tops of the thighs back. Inhale, lift halfway up, elongate the spine, hands on shin or floor. Exhale, step your left foot back. Inhale, elongate the spine. Exhale, step back, plank pose. Take a full breath in plank. Chaturanga, halfway or all the way down. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Slow, steady breath in. Slow, steady breath out. Can you keep pressing the tops of the thighs back and up, connecting to that pelvic region and moving from the hip crease. One more deep inhale. Full exhale. Step your left foot forward between your hands. Inhale, elongate your spine, chest reaches forward. Exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, reach both hands all the way up towards the sky, full breath in. Exhale, hands to the chest. And inhale, reach both hands up. Thumbs to the hip creases and exhale, fold forward. Press the tops of the thighs back. Inhale, lift halfway up, elongate the spine. Exhale, step or jump back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Take a full breath in. Steady breath out. You can keep your eyes grounded on one spot. Keep pushing firmly through your inner hand, through your thumb and your index finger. Take one more deep inhale. Exhale all your air. Bend your knees, step or jump forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, both hands all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, hands to chest. Once more, inhale, reach all the way up, big breath in. Exhale, thumbs to the hip creases and fold at the hips. Hands down, inhale, lift halfway. Step or jump, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Take a steady breath in. Steady breath out. And please turn your left foot out 45 degrees-ish. And then step your right foot forward between your hands. Bend into your front knee. And then interlace your hands, palms down on your front thigh. Just like we did earlier. Take your hands to the mid thigh or the mid upper thigh. If it's too much to keep your back foot turned out at 45 degrees, then you can lift your back heel up, that's fine. Bend into your front knee, go for it, let yourself go into the front leg. But at the same time, push your hands down against your right thigh and try to create more space at your right hip crease by lifting your frontal hip points up, lengthening the tailbone down, drawing the lower abdomen in. Now, can you keep that and maybe go a little bit lower? Lift the frontal hip points up, push the hands down, lengthen the tailbone down. Roll the upper inner left thigh back. A little bit of internal rotation in the back leg. Try to keep that work. Inhale, reach both hands up, full Virabhadrasana 1. Take a deep breath into your body. Full breath out. 3 more breaths. Deep inhale. Full exhale. Let yourself surrender to your breathing. You know, often in yoga, sometimes we can fight the poses, like we resist the pose, we fight against it. What would happen in your yoga practice if you just trusted? If you had faith, like if you totally trusted me, would you resist what I was teaching? Probably not. You'd be like, oh, I totally trust Duncan. I'm going to do exactly what he says, you know, or at least do what I can do. Always listen to your body. One more breath in. Exhale, both hands come down towards the ground. Step back, plank. Take a full breath in. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Pivot the right foot out 45 degrees. Step your left foot forward. Inhale, take both of your hands to your front thigh. Interlace them, palms down on your front thigh. Bend into your left knee deeply. Push the hands down against your left thigh bone and try to lift the pelvis up. Can you lift the frontal hip points up and lengthen the tailbone down? Trying to create more spaciousness at your left hip crease. And then can you go a little bit lower in the legs? And try to keep that upright nature of the pelvis, and inhale, reach both hands up, full warrior one pose. Can you roll the inner right thigh back a little so both hips face forward? Stretch the arms up, and then breathe. Can you trust in this practice? So if you don't know me, you probably won't trust me that much, and that's probably a good thing. But can you have trust in yourself? And if you truly trust your own power, your own strength, your own abilities, then you won't fight so much with the present experience. You're like, I trust myself. I'm here. I'm with it. Sometimes the worst type of friction and challenge is when we're resisting and always fighting the present moment. Instead of maybe saying, you know what, this moment's challenging, but I accept it for what it is. A long warrior one, not the end of the world. Take one more inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands come all the way down. Step back, plank. Take a full breath in. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Take a full breath in downward dog. And a full breath out. Okay, one more deep inhale. Full exhale. Step your feet together and walk them 1 foot closer towards your hands. Now come high onto your tippy toes, put on your stilettos, right? Just like we've done the last couple of days. Engage your calves. Look between your thumbs, look between your hands. Shift your shoulders so they're right over your wrists. Option 1, you just stay here. You push that floor away. Trust in yourself. Or bend your knees, 5 hops, handstand. 4 more breaths or 4 more hops. 3, keep breathing deeply. 2, keep pushing the floor away. 1 last breath in. Wherever you are, step or land your feet at the top of your mat. Halfway lift. Inhale. Fold forward. Exhale. Let it all go. Inhale. Reach both hands all the way up towards the sky. Reach nice and tall. And exhale. Hands to your chest. Well done. Please lift your left knee up. Catch your left knee with your right hand. Take your left thumb into your left hip crease. So here's an example of where we can create more spacious hips. Lift your right knee up higher, but with your left thumb in your left hip crease, push the top of the thigh bone down. Good. Now lift your frontal hip points up, engage your glutes a bit more. Stand tall. Good. Turn your chest towards the left, and then stretch that left hand straight back, coming into a twist.
Inhale, get taller through the spine. Exhale, twist. One more deep breath in. Exhale, full twist. And look forward. Inhale, both hands up. Exhale, take the leg right back to toppling tree. Right into toppling tree. Interlace your hands. Place them on your right thigh. Bend your right knee. And just like we've been doing the whole class, push your hands down against your right thigh and try to lift your right hip up off of your right thigh bone. Now lift your left leg higher. Keep both hips facing down. Pull the lower ribs in. Option to reach both hands back or stretch both hands overhead. Notice if you're collapsing into your right hip crease. Keep lifting your frontal right hip up off of the right thigh. Take one more full inhale. Complete exhale. And stand all the way up. Other side, lift your right knee up. Catch your right knee with your left hand. If you need to shake out your legs a little, feel free to. So if you're not used to balancing on your bare feet, they can sometimes cramp a little, which is good. It means you're getting stronger or cultivating strength in your feet, giving them a challenge. But if you need to, you can just shake them out a little. Right thumb into your right hip crease. Push the top of your right thigh bone down. Then lift your frontal hip points up so your tailbone lengthens to the floor. Can you keep that length through the spine? And then twist. Reach the right hand back. See if you can look back. Take a steady breath in. Twist, exhale. Hey, one more breath. Deep inhale. Exhale, twist. Good. Come back to center. Inhale, both hands up. Exhale, take the legs straight back to toppling tree. Try your best. Can get both hips to face down. Interlace your hands, place them on your left thigh, and bend your left knee. And with your left knee a little bit bent, push your hands against your left thigh and try to lift your belly up away from your left thigh bone so that you're not collapsing into your left hip crease. It's lifted, it's supported. Now can you lift your right leg higher? Keep your right knee straight. Maybe reach both hands back. Or if you want more challenge, reach both arms overhead for full warrior 3. 5 breaths, try to stay with it. 4, lift those arms up, lift the leg up. 3, 2, you're almost there. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And 1, stand all the way up. Good. Both hands on your hips. Step your left foot back about 3 to 4 feet. Turn both hips to face the front of your mat. Your feet are staggered about hip distance wide. So make sure your right foot's a little more to the right. Left foot's a little more to the left. Inhale, reach your left arm up to the sky. Take your right thumb in your right hip crease, like we've been doing the whole class. Hinge forward from the right hip and take your left hand down to ground or a block. If you're using a block, I recommend putting it, for today, you can try putting it underneath your face or kind of underneath your chest. With your right thumb in your right hip crease and your fingers wrapping around your delicious butt. Boy got booty. Press your thumb back into the right hip. So press your right thumb back. So you're pushing the top of the right thigh bone back. Then try to lengthen your spine forward a little bit more. Push the left hand down and twist your chest towards the right. Maybe reach the right hand up towards the sky. Revolved Trikonasana. Revolved triangle pose. Push down equally through both feet. Push down through that left hand to turn the chest open. Keep sending the top of the right thigh bone back and push strongly and evenly through both feet. Take 2 more breaths. Okay. 1 more deep breath in. Return your right thumb back to your right hip crease. Look down. Bend into your front knee. Shift forward. Put your left hand on the ground or a block 1 to 2 feet in front of you. Now lift that back leg up. Keep both hips facing down. Push your right thumb back against your right thigh and extend your spine. Get longer through your spine. Now push the left hand down and turn your chest open to the right. Maybe reach your right arm up. Slow, steady breath in. Slow, steady breath out. Keep pressing that left thigh up. Keep turning from the chest. 1 more deep inhale. Full exhale. Both hands come to the ground. Step your left foot forward. Hands to your hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. Other side. Step your right foot back. We got to keep like a good pace here. Duncan spent too much time talking about philosophy. If you're wondering if I feel much more settled in Australia now, I totes do. I walk around and I literally say, oh my gosh, this Australia is so similar to Canada. Like it actually is. Australians are such sweet, lovely people. Very polite, like the Canadians. Left thumb into your left hip crease. I digress. Right arm up towards the sky. Hinge forward. Right hand to blocker floor. Push the top of your left thigh bone back with your thumb. Elongate your chest and your spine forward. Try to get long and tall through the spine. Push the right hand down, turn your chest to the left, reach the left hand up. So when we're trying to survive, we seek out separation. We notice separation. We notice differences. We also are always chasing opportunity and avoiding threat at all cost. Keep pushing that right hand down, turning the chest up, push down through both feet, 2 more breaths. And then we're always trying to make stability out of everything. And so when we feel like we're in a place where we can thrive and live our life, we no longer try to seek out differences. We look for connection. We notice how everything is actually so connected and so similar. Look down, left hand back to your left hip crease. Bend into your left knee, shift forward, lift that back leg up. Keep both hips facing down. Push that right hand down, turn the chest towards the left. And maybe reach that left hand up. Focus, 5 more breaths. So when we feel safe, when we feel loved and we can trust, we seek out how, we're all connected. We notice our interconnection. Instead of fearing change, we embrace and we celebrate change because we acknowledge it as a natural human experience, part of this reality. And instead of always chasing opportunity and avoiding threats, when we feel really safe, nurtured, loved, we can trust, we don't mind trying out things that might feel a little threatening. It's how we grow, doing things that might scare us a little. Take 1 more deep inhale, like a long, twisted half moon pose. Both hands come down. But it's true, if you really trust a teacher or you trust yourself, you'll be willing to try things that might be a little scary or hard. Hands to your hips, inhale, stand all the way up. Y'all are doing good. Okay. Please lift your left knee up. Catch your left knee with your right hand. Remember, repetition is good. Stay here or catch the outside edge of your left foot. Okay, inhale, left leg forward. Exhale, left hand back twist. Hold for 5. Can keep your breath steady. 4, breathe. 3, 2, 1 last breath in. Good, come back to center, keep the leg lifted, both arms up, full inhale. Exhale, standing splits. The leg goes all the way back and up towards the sky, both hands come to the ground. Lift your left leg as high as it will go, but keep both hips facing down. So not open standing hips, closed standing hips. Lift that left leg up, but keep that left hip turning down. Option to stay here, or plant both of your hands on the ground. Come onto your right tippy toes and kick up, handstand. Wherever you are, stay for 3 more breaths. You can do it. 2, breathe. 1 more deep breath in. All right, left foot comes down. Stand all the way up. Other side. Catch your right knee with your left hand. Option to stay here or catch the outside edge of the foot. Maybe lengthen your right leg forward. Maybe reach your right hand back. Keep your left leg, your standing leg strong. Hold for 5. Breathe. 4, elongate, lift up through the torso. Exhale, twist. 2 more breaths. Be gentle with yourself. 1 last breath in. Good. Come back through center. Both arms up, legs straight out in front. Inhale. Exhale, the leg goes back and up. Both hands come to the ground. Standing splits. Turn both hips to face the floor. Lift that right leg up high. Option to stay here or plant both palms. Come onto your left tippy toes. Kick up, handstand. Wherever you are, can you take 3 more breaths? Stay with it. Push the floor away. Steady breath in. Steady breath out. 1 more deep inhale. Okay, now wherever you are, step or jump back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, we'll all meet in downward facing dog pose. Take a full breath into your body and a full breath out. Deep inhale and a full exhale. And exhale, bend both of your knees. Look forward, step or jump through to a seated. Well done, we did it. We got to the ground. Wunderbar. All right. Please bring your right heel in towards your groin. This is option 1. Option 2 is to tuck the right foot back to the outer right hip. So you're in half Virasana. If you do that, you might need to sit on a block. I usually need to sit on a block. So I've given you 2 options. If you don't know which option to do, do option 1, Janu Shirshasana, heel into the groin. Otherwise, you can take the foot back. For Triang Mukhai Pada Pajimattanasana. Ugh, that one's always a mouthful. Inhale, both hands up. Exhale, fold over your left leg. Can you take a deep breath into your body and a full breath out? Three more breaths. Two. Really focus on your breathing. One more deep inhale. Full exhale. Inhale, slowly come all the way up. Switch sides. Right leg comes forward, Bring your left heel in towards your groin. Option to stay there, or tuck your left foot back beside your left hip. Inhale, reach both hands up towards the sky. And exhale, fold forward over the legs. You can take 5 slow, steady breaths. Really focus on your breathing. Inhale, I experience this moment. Exhale, I let go, I release the moment that has already happened. Good job. Inhale, slowly come all the way up. I'm going to show you 2 options moving forward. So if you don't have a block, it's okay. You can also try it kind of with a cushion. But I'm going to show you option 1. It's the most accessible one, so please just watch first. Supported bridge pose. So you're going to lie onto your back first. Lift your pelvis up. And then put the block underneath your sacrum, which is kind of like your butt flesh region, your upper butt flesh. And then hands release on the ground, and you get to release across the front of the hips. If you'd like to take it a little deeper, you can straighten the legs forward, but try to keep the inner thighs rolling down so that you get more of a release through the iliopsoas. But I'd recommend just keeping the knees bent for that. For most people, that's just a bit easier on their back. Okay. That's option 1. Option 2 is Supta Virasana. If you don't have a block, you can just lie on your back and you'll just have to do a regular bridge and hold that for a bit. And that's okay. It's a bit more active position, but it will still help release the front of the hips. If you're taking Supta Virasana, bring the knees together. Press the calf muscle back, not out to the side, just straight back. And then sit the butt down between the feet. If you need to, you can sit on a block. Then take your hands towards your feet, come onto your elbows. Option to stay there or lie all the way down. And if you're in Supta Virasana, option to take the arms overhead, grab elbow to elbow. Okay, wherever you are, please choose a position where you feel like you can release in. So remember, in order to release, you have to have the ability to trust and surrender. In order to trust something, you need to feel a certain element of safety. So if you're in a position and it just doesn't feel safe for your body, then it's no good. So you must come out and do a different option. Either bridge pose or supported bridge. Wherever you are, can you take another 5 slow, steady breaths? Our nervous system dictates our movement. And the more safe we feel, the more we can trust and experience a moment, a person, the more we will release. On a physiological level, the more the nervous system will allow you to go into a stretch. The more your nervous system will allow you to experience the depth of a movement when it feels safe. Take 2 more breaths. If you're in Supta Virasana, slowly press yourself up. If you're on your back, just stay on your back. Remove the block and lie down. Straighten both legs forward, just momentarily, everyone. Like you're coming into Shavasana, just so the knees can release. And then please hug your right knee in towards your chest and give your right knee a nice big squeeze in. And slowly switch sides. Hug your left knee in. Give your left knee a nice big squeeze. When we can trust, have faith, when we feel safe and loved, we release on a very profound level. And slowly lengthen the left leg forward. Place your hands down on either side of your hips. Can you allow yourself to trust this moment? Can you trust that this is exactly where you are meant to be? Can you trust in your body and in yourself? Let your face relax. Let your belly soften. Let your pelvis, your lower abdomen soften. Everything releases into the ground. Please take a deeper breath in and out. Place one hand on your belly and another hand on your ribs. If it feels right to you, can you repeat to yourself in your own mind, I am safe. I am loved. I am safe. I am loved. Take your hands overhead, give your body a big stretch. Bend your knees. Roll onto your right hand side. And gently press yourself up. Come to a comfortable seat. We're going to go a little bit over today. We'll probably go over by about 5 minutes. So it will take roughly 10 minutes for pranayama. If you need to leave because you have somewhere to be, that's totally fine. We're going to stay with samavriti today. We're going to add a bit more of a longer retention, and we're going to do it from seated today. If you prefer to lie on your back for pranayama, it's highly recommended actually. It's usually quite easier for us to breathe on our back lying down. But otherwise, if you're choosing to sit up for pranayama, make sure you're comfortable. And it doesn't mean you need to sit on the ground. You can totally sit on a chair. The best thing you can do for a good pranayama session is to ensure the comfort and the ease of your physical body. So either finding a comfortable seat or lying on your back. We'll just take this moment to seal our asana practice, where regardless of where you are, bring your palms together in front of your chest, touching. As you flow through your day or your evening, can you pay attention to the stories that you've created? Can you acknowledge that the Sacral Chakra is our region that creates our reality, creates our perspective? You are in charge of your reality. And that includes acknowledging when it's time to let go of certain stories. And ultimately, in the practice of yoga, having the ability to release every single story. Pondering the question, who am I when I let go of all my stories? Namaste. We'll move into pranayama if you're staying. Eyes closed, sitting tall or on your back, ensuring your comfort. Take a natural breath in and out. Inhaling for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time, inhaling, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Adding the retention. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding at the top for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 3, for 2, for 1. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. 3, 2, 1. Inhaling. Continue this pace. If you need to go a little slower or a little faster, that's fine. If the breath retention is too long, feel free to shorten it or skip it altogether. The idea is that you can keep your breath steady and soft. If it feels like there's a lot of force and effort here, it's an indicator that you need to back off a little. Take out the retentions. Can you allow your mind to totally surrender to the breath? So that pranayama invites softness, gentleness, release. Please do 3 more rounds. Once you've finished your 3 rounds, please take a natural breath in. And a natural breath out. Please bring your hands together in front of your chest, palms touching. Can you thank yourself for making it through day 3 of the immersion? Maybe feeling a slight energy of pride, gratitude, trust in your own strength and ability to show up. Namaste.